Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Coming to you from, obviously, Washington's nicest indoor shooting facility. That's Security Gun Club here in Woodinville, Washington. We're going to circle back to a horrible piece of legislation from not this past legislative session, but 2 legislative sessions ago. Of course, that being Senate Bill 5078, now codified as RCW 9.41.370. You know it as Washington's magazine ban. Now, there have been multiple challenges, Sullivan v. Ferguson, Brumback v. Ferguson being 2 of them that we've had a chance to talk about. Those haven't really gone anywhere, but then along came this little suit against a place called Gator Guns down there in Cowlitz County. We talked about it on this video, and we said, hey, is it possible that maybe the Attorney General may have bitten off a little bit more than he could chew? Could this actually turn out to be a good thing? Well, there's been some more developments, and I think you ought to get yourself educated. You might even get yourself a little hopeful here. So today, let's spend a few minutes and let's get you up to speed on, did Gator Guns just trap the Attorney General's office? Okay, before we get going too far down the road that we're going down, proud to announce that this video is being brought to you by the Silent Majority Foundation. Hey, listen, you hear people talk about the Firearms Policy Coalition, the Second Amendment Foundation, Gun Owners of America all the time. All fantastic, worthwhile organizations. Big, large national organizations that really have their eyes all over the place. Who's the local organization that absolutely, positively has your back all the time, including on issues going far beyond just your Second Amendment rights? Well, that's the Silent Majority Foundation. Listen, during King Inslee's COVID pandemic crackdown, who was the only local organization challenging his mask mandates? Who was the only local organization challenging the school shutdowns? Who was the only local organization challenging the vax mandates? That's right. It is the Silent Majority Foundation. And every time the idiots down in Olympia pass some other unconstitutional gun law, who's the first organization to throw in on it? It's always the Silent Majority Foundation. So listen, if you're ready to give to an organization that is actually in the trenches, fighting every day, getting their knuckles bloodied for your inalienable rights, please consider giving to the Silent Majority Foundation today. For more information, visit them at smfjb.org. That is smfjb.org. Okay, so here's what we're talking about. As we know, when we passed Senate Bill 5078, the criminal component, the part that governs you and I, is codified in RCW 9.41.370. However, there's also a Consumer Protection Act law that came with it, codified in 9.41.375, which allows the Attorney General to fine the living hell out of an FFL if, in fact, they continue to sell high-capacity magazines. Now, we have already followed the trials and tribulations of Federal Way Discount Guns, a King County gun store that got busted for this, and right now that lawsuit is still pending litigation. Then we also talked to you about WGS Guns down in Pierce County. That suit kind of came and went very quietly. I hear that they ended up paying a settlement to that, and that was the end of that, okay? And then along comes this third suit down in Cowlitz County of a place called Gator Guns. Now, Gator's Guns apparently was not being too shy about selling their magazines. They quite openly, loudly, and proudly were selling them. And I don't know what the local law enforcement department's positions were on that. And even if I did, it's not for me to comment on it. It would be for them. However, what that, of course, did is after the Attorney General sent some undercover agents in there to buy some high-capacity magazines, oh, yeah, then that got the Attorney General's office all hot and bothered, and they then filed what's called a civil investigative demand against Gator Guns. Now, what is a civil investigative demand? Well, what that is that's a nasty little letter you get from the Attorney General that says, hey, we have reason to believe that you've been selling high-capacity magazines, and therefore we want to see all of your books, all of your invoices, all of everything. We want to know where every little item went in your store because we want to figure out how many high-capacity magazines you did sell, and once we do that math, we'll multiply it by $7,500 a piece and then fine you an amount that makes you insolvent, bankrupt, and out of business. Now, as we talked about on this video, here's the unique thing about this one. You see, when Attorney General Ferguson went after Gator Guns, Well, that was in King County. That ended up before a Superior Court judge, Judge Yip, who had absolutely no problem with the constitutionality of Washington's magazine ban. One WGS was fined in Pierce County. That case never even ended up in any litigation. They quietly settled it, and it was probably a really smart move on their part because the publicity was gone in a nanosecond, and they candidly in Pierce County would have not had a particularly friendly venue to argue about their otherwise inalienable rights. But then along comes Gator Guns down in Cowlitz County. What's different about Cowlitz County? Well, in the last 20 years, especially if you track the last 3 election cycles, we have learned that Cowlitz County has turned mighty red. And the bench down there appears to be of a similar political persuasion. Now, here's what happened, okay? So, the consumer investigative demand is filed upon Gator Guns. Gator Guns then, with the help of the Silent Majority Foundation, their attorneys, they file an objection to that and also file suit against the Attorney General saying, hey, you know what? You're pursuing Gator Guns under a law which is unconstitutional. So what the Attorney General's office then does is they immediately withdraw their investigative demand. They say, hey, you know what? We don't want anything else from you. We're just going to go ahead and sue you right now. And bam, they file the lawsuit. So at that point, it's game on. The Attorney General is suing Gator Guns in Cowlitz County Superior Court, and Gator Guns is challenging the statute under which they're being sued and its constitutionality. Now, there was a hearing on October 16th, and during that hearing, the state's Attorney General, your Attorney General's office, argued that magazines are not even protected by the Second Amendment. They're not bearable arms, and that the Bruin holding is inapplicable to cases that are being analyzed under a state constitutional standard. That was actually their argument. The judge was not persuaded by either one and actually expressed a great deal of skepticism about both of those positions. So what the court has done is taken the Attorney General's lawsuit and Gator Guns lawsuit, consolidated it all into one, and currently they are working on a briefing and oral argument schedule. But the sole issue that the court wants to hear from both parties first is, hey, is Senate Bill 5078 even constitutional? So unlike where we've seen the Attorney General's office in other instances either be able to take action in a county where they have a very favorable bench, or in the case of Guardian Arms v. Inslee, the assault weapon ban, the inability to demonstrate injury in Grant County allowed the Attorney General to move that matter to Thurston County when then it was summarily smacked down. But in this case, there is absolutely no doubt where the injury is occurring. As a matter of fact, it is the Attorney General's office that filed the suit in the Cowlitz County Superior Court. So, it is entirely possible that Gator Guns has set a trap for the Attorney General, and the Attorney General has walked right into it. We will keep you very carefully posted about this. Once again, if you guys want to give to the Silent Majority Foundation, we'll put links for them down below. Help out the cause. In the meantime, if you got any other questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you guys should know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now. If you don't, that's okay. That information, it's right down there in the description box. Now, in the meantime, let's everyone remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time, is to know what the law is in every situation, how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching and stay safe.